The following live stream has been pre-recorded. Any special weather reports or tornado warnings that are present during this program should be checked within 30 minutes from your local television stations. Thank you. The following edition of AJ&E News is an extended broadcast.
Powered by Riverside FM.
Live from Riverside, this is AJ&E News. Now reporting, AJ Baker and Ethan Jakowski. Good evening, everyone. Once again, my name is AJ Baker. Ethan Jakowski may or may not be on this broadcast. Okay, sorry. Okay. Alright. We have a lot of stories to get to tonight. Obviously, you heard that extended broadcast thing. It's not collected stories from last night. It's just a lot of extended stories in general. Which we start out with an extended story. We have two stories. I wouldn't say an extended story, but a connected story, a coincidental story. Anyway, Alabama lawmakers have accepted bills partisan on their ballot, on the Senate's ballot, despite a chaotic day of protest at the State House. We do have a clip on this.
Legislation to allow.
We have. Excuse me. We have NBC 13 News reporting on this story.
Legislation to allow special primary elections were signed into law by the governor just within the last couple hours. The law would take effect if the Supreme Court allows Alabama to change our current voting districts again. Thanks for joining us at 4. I'm Guy Rawlings.
And I'm Brittany Decker. The bills passed both the House and the Senate today before the governor signed them. This comes after protesters had to be escorted out of the House chambers in Montgomery, where all of this was going down. We shall A special session has been going on for a week. The governor called it after the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling in Louisiana redistricting case that weakens the Voting Rights Act.
The Alabama Attorney General asking courts to approve new congressional and state Senate voting districts that favor Republicans, even though voters are scheduled to use the current district maps in just over a week. We have team coverage at this hour on the drama at the state capitol today. WVTM 13's Lisa Crane was there.
Yeah, but first let's get over to WVTM 13's Michael Higdon, who is at the breaking news desk. Michael, walk us through exactly what happened today.
Both the House and the Senate reconvened today on their full respective floors to take up bills that would allow for special primary elections if courts approve new congressional and state Senate voting lines. Both of those bills passed and have officially been signed by the governor. Currently, Alabama has 2 U.S. congressional districts with large black populations. District 7, which includes Birmingham and is represented by Terry Sewell, and District 2, which includes Mobile and is represented by Shamari Figures. House Bill 1 lays out primaries based on a map that reduces the number of those districts to 1, splitting black voting power in the southern part of the state and eliminating the black majority in District 2. But again, this all depends on if a federal court overturns its ruling that Alabama use the current maps until 2030. The governor says if the court-ordered injunctions are lifted, they will revert back to the maps drawn by the legislature. The governor says that the May 19th primary election will still go on as planned, but if those injunctions are lifted, the governor may call a special election for certain state Senate and congressional districts whose boundary lines would be changed. WVTM 13's Lisa Crane was in Montgomery today, and she has more on the emotion and the drama at the state capitol.
With a Republican majority in the Alabama State House and Senate, there was no question House Bill 1 and Senate Bill 1 would pass. All Democrats could do was make their strong feelings heard. Democrats in the House chamber used their full debate time to speak to their constituents in the gallery who started protesting, disrupting the session enough for lawmakers to call for a recess. Activist Dee Reed was forcibly removed from the gallery by security. State Representative Juan.
Sorry for pausing the tape. I forgot to mention before this story aired, luckily I paused it at just the right time, that the statement that this person is about to give, some parts of it may be disturbing to some viewers.
Ondalyn Gavan was visibly shaken by what happened.
I'm not going to stand for somebody to held their freaking knees on top of somebody pinned to the floor. A black girl, a young, intelligent, brilliant black mind here in the state of Alabama. And this is what we have resulted to because she's only exercising her right to free speech.
State troopers were brought in to clear the gallery, but protesters and a few lawmakers would not go willingly. In the end, some were allowed to stay in the gallery. Republican leaders responded to the chaos.
Part of these people is not even from Alabama, and they did it intentionally to try to get attention. And my thing was I wasn't going to stay in the chamber and let them get the attention that they wanted. We want to be professionals in the chamber, and I think we took a recess to make sure that it kind of settled down a little bit and try to come back in and finish our business, and that's what we did.
Democratic lawmakers say they will not stop fighting these bills. They plan to now do that in court on the state and federal level. They plan to file an injunction as soon as possible. In Montgomery, Lisa Crane, WVTM 13.
That was Lisa Crane mainly reporting on that. We had two reporters, one from the breaking news desk and one on location. Thank you guys for reporting on that. That was NBC 13 News reporting on that for us. Now kind of a connected story. Obviously, one of the bills, the bill that was concerned that had all of the protests occur, while the other state bill was being discussed at a different Alabama state house, an emergency had to lead them to evacuate the building. The bill has been passed, but they did have to leave abruptly because of an emergency. For more information on this story, we have Fox 54 News.
Tonight, we're learning about what's being described as mayhem in Montgomery, a special session underway at the state capitol following the Supreme Court's decision in the Louisiana versus Calais case concerning gerrymandering and redistricting.
Call us back in and say, now we didn't now they call us still coming back.
You just heard a listen of some of that. This is cell phone video from State Senator Marika Coleman of Jefferson County. She tells us that lawmakers gavelled out for a recess due to the emergency evacuation for severe weather. And you could see flooding just outside the Capitol building. Coleman says people were packing up and leaving when the lieutenant governor gavelled back into session for a vote on Senate Bill 1, which would allow a special primary election to be held if the Supreme Court lifts the injunction. And amid the chaos, the bill passed. Coleman tells Fox 54 she's never seen anything like this in her 24 years of service.
So much mayhem. People are packing up. People are walking out. You have, constituents that are also asking us, because we had a lot of people that were in the gallery. So people were trying to get to safety. And these folks, instead of, the first thing that we as leaders should have been taken into consideration was the safety of our staff, the safety of those citizens that were there, and also our safety.
Coleman explained to us that in a special session, they typically have a total of 12 days. The session expected to continue tomorrow as lawmakers await the Supreme Court's decision.
That was Fox 54 News reporting on that story for us. Thank you. All right, next up, our next story comes out of California with some benefits to parents, to new parents. California is now officially providing 400 diapers to newborn babies once they come out of the hospital. Now, this test run, this is said to be a test, but is set to go all around the state of California. This is starting in 75 hospitals. For more information on this story, we have ABC 7 Los Angeles.
A major announcement for new parents in California. Governor Newsom announced a new program that will provide 400 free diapers to every newborn in the state.
That announcement made there in San Francisco. ABC 7 Eyewitness News reporter Zach Fuentes was there when it happened. Welcome news for a lot of parents, Zach.
Yeah, it sure is. That announcement made just this morning inside Children's Creativity Museum in Yerba Buena Gardens. The plan right now is for the program to be rolled out to more than 60 hospitals across the state. And as the governor said this morning, there are plans for expansion.
This is what affordability looks like. It's not a slogan, it's a box. It's a box of diapers.
Governor Gavin Newsom, along with officials like San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie and California-based nonprofit Baby to Baby, making a major announcement Friday, just before Mother's Day weekend. A program called Golden State Start, created to get newborn babies 400 diapers, believed to be a month's worth, free.
A first-in-the-nation program where we will have the honor of providing hundreds of free diapers to every newborn delivered at a hospital in the state of California.
The program is set to start in the summer. Each participating hospital will give the diapers to families as they're discharged. The state set aside $7.4 million in last year's budget to roll out the initiative. Baby to Baby is the manufacturer.
Baby to Baby built our own diaper manufacturing system, which allows us to produce diapers for 80% less than the retail price and distribute 5 times more.
The plan in this first year is for the program to be offered at about 65 to 75 hospitals that largely serve low-income patients. But Newsom said the initiative has plans to expand.
40 million diapers, as many diapers will be distributed this year as Californians. We'll get to 80 million next year. The goal ultimately is 160 million, but we'll start 25% of the need, get up to 50% of the need next year with the indulgence of the legislature. I've put $12.5 billion into the budget in January that they hopefully will approve to allow us to get to the next phase.
Now, the program at the participating hospitals will be automatic, meaning the families don't have to sign up for anything. They will just get those 400 diapers. Now, in addition to this program, the governor said there's also work being done to lower the cost of diapers from major brands. Live in San Francisco, Zach Fuentes, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
That was Zach Fuentes from ABC 7 Eyewitness News in Los Angeles. Thank you for reporting on that. I would also like to mention that also stating in the report on ABC7's website, they also say that the amount of 400 could raise concerns because it is only a month's worth. But they say that they may improve on that within the next year. Okay. Now to our next story, which is going to be one of our solidified extended stories. After this story comes out of Cohutta, Georgia, after the Cohutta mayor fires its entire police department. You heard me right. The Cohutta, Georgia mayor in the city of Cohutta has fired all of the law enforcement and is looking to lay off all of the dispatch involved also with the law enforcement. Many jobs are at risk, and the local people are wondering what comes next. We have an in-depth story. First we will have just general information on the story. Next, we will have local residents speaking out on what this could possibly mean for their city, and then a former Georgia sergeant. We do have those pieces. But we start with 11 Alive News with more information just on the general story.
Now let's go to Cohutta, Georgia. Small town, about 700 or so people living in that town. Great for hiking, great waters for trout fishing. Apparently a bad place to be a police officer, though, because the entire force is gone, fired by the town's mayor, and it comes in the wake of a recent dispute between the mayor's wife and the police department. Sierra Rucker reports.
This all comes to personal vendetta from the mayor, and I wholeheartedly believe that.
Just last week, town attorney Brian Rayburn promised officers' jobs were safe.
My understanding is that a lot of the police officers heard through the grapevine that they were going to be terminated because of the letters that they wrote. I don't think them exercising their, First Amendment right and filing complaints a valid reason to fire anybody.
However, just days later, Cohutta Mayor Ron Shinnick shut down the Cohutta Police Department and fired all employees, including the Chief of Police, Greg Fowler. I spoke with now former Chief Fowler, and he tells me he was notified the morning of and is currently working on clearing out the department and moving equipment. Sergeant Jeremy May also out of a job.
Official response from the town attorney: nobody's jobs are in jeopardy. Here we are less than a week later. Nobody has a job.
May was one of the officers who submitted a complaint against the mayor's wife, Pam Shinnick, who also was the former town clerk. This stems from what Mayor Shinnick is calling, quote, inappropriate comments posted to Facebook from officers. Once Shinnick was fired, officers shared concerns of the mayor's wife still having access to personal and classified information.
And we took a stand for transparency, and in result, every one of them's lost their jobs.
May tells me 10 workers will be impacted by the shutdown. And Mayor Shinnick says Whitfield County Sheriff's Office will take over operations in that area. However, response times to these calls are now a concern.
But the issue is going to be is response times. Can a department that's already limited, being the sheriff's office, pick up an entire area that a full-time department was doing on top of what they were normally doing? That's going to be the safety and security of the citizens and the constituents of Cohutta is going to suffer in response because of the retaliation from the mayor.
Cohutta Mayor Shinnick did confirm the officers were fired. Look, a lot of unanswered questions here, clearly. A special meeting will be held tomorrow where hopefully we'll get some answers in all this. The town council wants to reinstate the police department and remove the mayor. Boy, there could be some fireworks at that meeting tomorrow. We'll have an update for you.
That was 11 Alive News reporting on that story. Thank you. If we do get that update into the newsroom by tomorrow, we will let you know. Now, for more information on what the people of Cohutta are saying about this, we have a clip from Local 3 News.
In Cohutta, Georgia, it's day 2 without a police department after the mayor fired the chief and the police department yesterday.
Local 3 Sierra Rucker was in Cohutta to hear from residents ahead of tomorrow's special meeting where the town council will consider removing the mayor and reinstating the police department.
Tomorrow, a special meeting will be held here at Cohutta Town Hall to determine the fate of the Cohutta Police Department and the mayor, Ron Shinnick. However, we walked around Cohutta to speak with residents to see how they feel about the situation.
I suspect that the whole problem going on right now is complaints against the police department. We had a town meeting several months ago where the only subject brought up was how the police were dealing with people.
Little is a longtime resident in Cohutta and says he has noticed a change, specifically within the police department.
My daughter got a ticket for having her garbage cans out on the road too long. The police officers were sitting at the local bar down here, a restaurant that's just opened up, and waiting on people to drive out so they could stop them for drunk driving. I went to traffic court, but there were 30 people sitting in traffic court in a small town. It just seemed like too much going on for as small a police department as we have.
I spoke with several other residents who did not want to go on camera. They shared similar experiences involving the Cohutta police. Are you surprised to hear that other residents had this similar experiences with officers out here?
No, not at all. I suspect it's systemic with the department.
During the special meeting, Town Council is requesting to reinstate the police department, make Mayor Shinnick resign, and discuss a possible investigation into the removal of the mayor. However, some residents I spoke with disagree.
I've known him for 30 plus years, long before he became mayor. He is a good Christian man.
The town council is looking to use the Georgia Public Officers Recall Act of 1989. It states every state, county, and municipal public official to hold elective office is subject to recall. It goes on to say persons registered and qualified to vote in the recall election may recall such public officer.
And again, that special meeting is Friday at 5. We'll have a team right here providing updates and coverage on the situation. Reporting in Cohutta for Local 3 News, I'm Sierra Rucker.
That was Sierra, excuse me, that was Sierra Rucker from Local 3 News. You just heard the residents speak about this out here. Now we get to hear from a former Cohutta sergeant that used to be, but of course resigned before, it was years before the situation. But anyway, we are hearing from a former sergeant in Cohutta. Once again, with that information, here's Local 3.
And Cohutta, Georgia is without a police department in the wake of a recent dispute between the mayor's wife and the police department.
Local 3's Sierra Rucker visited the department to get some answers.
As of Wednesday morning, the Cohutta mayor fired the entire Cohutta Police Department, now discontinuing services. And we actually saw workers going in and out of that building, clearing out the department. And we're learning new information as to what led up to this.
This all comes to personal vendetta from the mayor, and I wholeheartedly believe that.
Just last week, town attorney Brian Rayburn promised officers' jobs were safe.
My understanding is that a lot of the police officers heard through the grapevine that they were going to be terminated because of the letters that they wrote. I don't think them exercising their, First Amendment right and filing complaints a valid reason to fire anybody.
However, just days later, Cohutta Mayor Ron Shinnick shut down the Cohutta Police Department and fired all employees, including the Chief of Police, Greg Fowler. I spoke with now former Chief Fowler, and he tells me he was notified the morning of and is currently working on clearing out the department and moving equipment. Sergeant Jeremy May also out of a job.
Official response from the town attorney: nobody's jobs are in jeopardy. Here we are less than a week later. Nobody has a job.
May was one of the officers who submitted a complaint against the mayor's wife, Pam Shinnick, who also was the former town clerk. This stems from what Mayor Shinnick is calling, quote, inappropriate comments posted to Facebook from officers. Once Shinnick was fired, officers shared concerns of the mayor's wife still having access to personal and classified information.
And we took a stand for transparency, and in result, every one of them's lost their jobs.
May tells me 10 workers will be impacted by the shutdown, and Mayor Shinnick says Whitfield County Sheriff's Office will take over operations in that area. However, response times to these calls are now a concern.
But the issue is going to be is response times. Can a department that's already limited, being the sheriff's office, pick up an entire area that a full-time department was doing on top of what they were normally doing? That's going to be the safety and security of the citizens and the constituents of Cohutta is going to suffer in response because of the retaliation from the mayor.
Cohutta Mayor Ron Shinnick did confirm to us the officers were fired. As for next steps, he said he's not sure.
And you can view our past reportings and details on this topic over in our app and our website. Reporting in Cohutta for Local 3 News, I'm Sierra Rucker.
Once again, that was Sierra Rucker reporting on that story. Thank you so much. Ethan Jakowski has just joined in. Welcome in.
Thank you. Where's traffic?
Traffic is nowhere to be found.
Wait, hold on. Before we move on to the next story, what'd you have, no school today?
I was sick, but...
Sick? Are you better?
Not really, but I'm here doing the news, which is...
Well, you should get some rest, mister. LOL.
We'll talk about this later.
I'm just kidding.
The next story is also an extended story, which will be taken by me. Ethan, you will get the next story, don't worry. But this next story, just warning you generally, is extremely disturbing. this one comes out of Vancouver, Oregon. This comes after a pediatrician has claimed, this after a local Vancouver, Oregon pediatrician has been accused of child molestation. These details that we will show in some of these stories are unfortunately pretty graphic, but we will still show them like any responsible news organization would. There's two stories on this. But first we have Queen 6 News reporting on this.
Tonight, disturbing new details in a molestation investigation. This is out of Clark County. Investigators recently arrested a Vancouver man after they found child sex abuse material linked to his home internet. Officials also say Chad Hartley had a connection with a local pediatrician who's accused of hosting naked sleepovers with children. And we do want to warn you, the details you're about to hear are disturbing. For more on what we know about this tonight, let's now bring in Ariel Yacobazi live in the newsroom. Ariel, you have sifted through the court documents today, and you also spoke with the parent of a former patient.
Yes, Liz, and I do want to note that the details in these court documents, they truly are disturbing and horrific. The woman I spoke to says that she used to take her daughter to see Dr. Michael Wilmington at the Kaiser Permanente Salmon Creek office. But she stopped doing so after she says while he was generally a good doctor, very knowledgeable, she says conversations often turned awkward or inappropriate. Court documents are now painting disturbing pictures of the two men accused of child molestation. Police say a tip in February led investigators to a Vancouver IP address. Last week, investigators identified and arrested 36-year-old Chad Hartley. They accuse him of dealing and possessing child porn. Court documents also allege he had sexual contact with a 6-year-old child. Here he is in court Tuesday. He's now charged with trafficking and child molestation, with more charges likely on the way. During their investigation, police also found a second suspect connected to Hartley, 61-year-old Dr. Michael Wilmington. The pediatrician worked at several medical facilities across the Portland and Vancouver metros.
It's just like, oh, this is just getting icky.
Court documents also claim both Wilmington and Hartley lived a clothing-optional lifestyle. This woman took her young daughter to see him until a few years ago. That's until she says Dr. Wilmington, during appointments, openly discussed his nudist tendencies.
I mean, when it came to the actual medicine and the doctor talk, he was very knowledgeable, but then it was always conversations kind of just somehow turned to something inappropriate, whether it was about being nude around his own children or being in the nudist community.
She tells me she is mortified to hear her daughter's former pediatrician is accused of hosting naked sleepovers with at least one child at his home in La Center, Washington.
It's sad for, the community and everybody who trusted their children.
Court documents reveal Dr. Wilmington had sexual contact with the same minor that Chad Hartley is accused of molesting. Investigators served Wilmington a felony warrant for child molestation, but days later he was found dead in Lewis County from an apparent suicide. To be clear, at this point, detectives have not confirmed that any child patients were molested by either men, although they are still investigating the possibility. Meantime, the mother of the former patient I spoke with says, given what's happened, this is a good reminder to constantly speak with your children about strangers and the people you think you might know.
It's definitely something that we're going to continue talking about with our children as they get older, and just making sure that they're surrounding themselves with safe people. But it's scary.
And Vancouver police, they are investigating both men at this point, and we have confirmed that Chad Hartley used to work with Peace Health, and Dr. Wilmington was a former employee, or an employee rather, of Kaiser Permanente. We can read those statements from those agencies on our website at coin.com.
That was Coin 6 News reporting on that story. Thank you. Again, quite disturbing. I should also mention before we get to this next story, like the reporters kind of mentioned, this did become kind of a sting operation after 3 people have now been arrested in connection with this pediatrician in Oregon. Like they also told you, the second suspect did commit suicide right before he was set to hear his post bail and be set a court hearing. Excuse me. For more information on that part of the story, here is Fox 12 Oregon.
First at 6, we're learning more after a Vancouver pediatrician committed suicide following accusations of child molestation. A second medical professional tied to the case now faces child trafficking charges.
Fox 12 Julia Lopez brings us the latest details.
With new charges introduced just this week, investigators in Vancouver say this case is active and ongoing. I talked with a lawyer with experience in cases like this who says investigations can take years to unfold. Michael Wilmington, a longtime pediatrician at Kaiser Permanente in Salmon Creek, was accused of child molestation and called an extreme threat to children by investigators. Wilmington was accused by Vancouver police and fired from Kaiser on April 30th. Days later, police say he died of an apparent suicide. The allegations involve a young girl who told detectives Wilmington would molest her at nude sleepovers. Documents show the investigation started when child sex abuse material, or CSAM, was traced to an IP address at Peace Health and tied to medical assistant Chad Hartley. According to court documents, detectives believe Hartley was an administrator in online communities that distributed CSAM. Hartley faces child trafficking charges for bringing a child to Wilmington's house for weekly sleepovers. Wilmington was never interviewed by detectives, but Hartley told police they met through the nudist community. Hartley has also been fired from Peace Health.
It's very unlikely that these people were the first ones. He's probably been doing this for a long time, and we may see a lot of folks come forward.
Attorney Tom Diamore was part of a 2024 settlement against a Westland doctor facing abuse allegations by nearly 200 women.
Children and parents, they have a lot of trust in medical providers, especially doctors. And for that reason, the trust is so great that they're willing to do what these doctors tell them to do. And some don't even know they're being abused when they're being abused.
He explains the statute of limitations related to child abuse is extended in Oregon and Washington. Vancouver police are asking anyone whose child may have had unsupervised contact with Wilmington or Hartley to contact them.
Imagine what everybody that works every day with this person, the kind of things that they hear all the time. And unfortunately, too many folks are unwilling to come forward. That is your job, and that's the job of the institution, to make sure that there are processes in place where people can come forward when they suspect or know something is wrong.
Hartley was assigned $800,000 bail. Reporting in studio, Julia Lopez, Fox 12 Oregon.
That was Fox 12 Oregon reporting on that story. Julia, thank you. That is the end of that kind of gruesome, unfortunately, extended story from me. Once again, Ethan Jakowski is now on the newscast, and he will be taking over our next story. So what have you got, Ethan?
The whammies. I'm just kidding. We got before we get copyrighted. Ouch. Hold on. There we go. Sorry to check the door. Hold on, I gotta do something. I'm quick. Hold on. Something just came out of my thing. Anyways, I'll read the story while I do it, so I don't want to keep wasting time. We got a jury convicts Fort and Holly President Association trial, WLPG Local 10 with this story.
We have breaking news right now at noon. A federal grand jury now finding 4 men guilty of plotting to assassinate former Haitian President Jovenel Moïse.
He was gunned down in his bedroom in the early morning hours of July 7th, 2021. And Local 10's Isabella Martin, she's live in Miami with these breaking details from the courtroom. Isabella.
Yeah, well, after months of emotional testimony and 3 days of deliberations, the entire courtroom was silent as the judge read out the guilty verdicts of those 4 defendants. A federal jury has now reached a verdict in the assassination trial connected to the killing of Haitian President Jovenel Moïse. The trial started March 3rd inside Miami's federal courthouse, and after more than 2 months of testimony, jurors found all 4 defendants guilty on most counts today. Prosecutors say the men helped plan and support the operation that led to Moïse's assassination inside his home in Haiti on July 7th, 2021. Antonio Intriago, the owner of a South Florida security company, was found guilty on nearly all counts against him, including conspiracy charges connected to the plot. But jurors found him not guilty on count 7 of the indictment, a charge of conspiracy to kill or kidnap a person outside the United States. The other defendants, including Archangel Pretel Ortiz, Walter Ventimilla, and James Salages, were also found guilty on multiple counts. We spoke with the attorney for Archangel Pretel Ortiz, who reacted to the verdict after court wrapped up this morning.
We're disappointed. He is, especially. All the defendants are. We thought the government's case was insufficient, but we have to respect the system and respect the verdict. We're going to appeal.
And several members of South Florida's Haitian community also packed the courthouse throughout the trial, and many telling us they're thrilled the jury reached a verdict after years of waiting for answers.
In Haiti, nothing is done. To see that today, at least, they, some of them are convicted. I'm so happy. I nearly cried.
And you just heard from that one woman who came to court every single day saying this verdict brings a sense of relief after years of waiting for answers. And as for those 4 defendants, their attorneys tell us they will be appealing once they get sentenced. For now, reporting live, I'm Isabella Martin, Local 10 News.
All right, Isabel, thanks for that. And that was hold on, let me get my Discord. WLPG Local 10 with that story. Thanks for that. And we go to Mr. Baker with the next story. Oh, by the way, before we go to the next story, how many stories we got today? I forgot to ask.
Well, we're already 37 minutes into the newscast, but...
Ooh. What do we got? This is our last story already?
Nope, this is certainly not our last story. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 stories left. And that's
Is it a busy night? Is it a busy night tonight?
I would consider it a busy night. I've already declared this a special, an extended broadcast, so it is.
All right. Anyways, let's go to Mr. Baker with this story. I hope he feels better.
Yes, obviously better enough to do the news. Thank you so much, Ethan. Our next story, the Utah police are investigating after a Utah senator smacked a local reporter from ABC4 Utah. We have that clip from ABC4 Utah, and they're reporting on this side of events. For more information, here is ABC4 Utah.
Data approved in continues now. We begin with breaking news now. The pushback continues over the 40,000-acre data center approved in Box Elder County.
And tonight it turned physical after Utah Republican Senator Jerry Stevenson approached our Bayan Wang. Bayan brings us this breaking story tonight.
It was certainly an interesting encounter with Utah Senator Jerry Stevenson, but we have to start with the context here. Stevenson is on the board of the Military Installation Development Authority, the state's lead authority overseeing the data center's development in Box Elder County. Today we became aware of a social media post that was circulating online promoting a boycott on Stevenson's nursery he owns in Layton. One of Stevenson's own longtime employees told ABC4 that some of their staff was facing harassment at the nursery. So we went there to give them an opportunity to share their story. But before we can even put that story together, this happened.
You know, this whole thing is such a bunch of baloney. Right. Just leave.
Well, hold on.
Leave.
I spoke to Andy. Can I just tell you what Andy said?
No, I already know what Andy said. Just get your butt out of here.
Wait, hold on. I don't understand
Leave.
why are you being hostile to us?
Because I'm tired of you.
That was Utah Senator Jerry Stevenson hitting my phone out of my hand Wednesday afternoon outside of the J&J Nursery and Garden Center, a business he's owned for decades. Stevenson is a powerful GOP lawmaker on Utah's Capitol Hill, sitting on 3 of arguably the state's most powerful boards, while chairing the state's top budget committee. We were outside Stevenson's business to report on the alleged harassment some of his employees were facing following this social media post promoting a boycott of his business because he's a board member of the Military Installation Development Authority, which is spearheading the controversial 40,000-acre data center in Box Elder County, which many residents oppose. About 10 minutes after the Utah Senate Deputy Chief of Staff informed us that Stevenson was not available for comment, he showed up in the parking lot confronting an ABC4 photographer. I approached them to see what was going on. Stevenson refused to identify himself as a Utah senator when asked. I informed him about our story before I started rolling.
You know, this whole thing is such a bunch of baloney. Right. Just leave.
Well, hold on. Leave. I spoke to Andy. Can I just tell you what Andy said?
No, I already know what Andy said. Just get your butt out of here.
Wait, hold on. I don't understand
Leave.
why are you being hostile to us?
Because I'm tired of you.
Just minutes later, officers showed up after a witness called police.
The original call came out as a possible disorderly conduct incident where it was reported that there were 3 individuals that were being verbal with each other in the parking lot here, and that one party reported that one male shoved another male.
While Stevenson did not shove me, here's what police said Stevenson told officers.
In regards to the phone, he's like saying, well, I didn't hit anybody, I didn't shove or push anybody, but he's like, I don't know what during the process when our hands were moving around, if it knocked the phone out of his hands. And then I talked to everyone kind of around and the staff and the other people there, and no one could give me a solid, like, yes, I saw him smack the phone out of your hands.
To provide more context of what exactly happened, I showed the officer the video of the encounter with Stevenson.
Okay, do you want to see it?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
approaching us.
It's clear.
Yeah.
It's clear. So, and then when you did that, the phone fell out and you have the damage to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even after the confrontation, I still wanted to give Stevenson an opportunity to comment.
If he wanted to talk to us or do an interview, give him the opportunity to talk about what's happening to his employees and his business, we'd be more than happy to coordinate that.
Shortly after that request, another officer told me that Stevenson does not wish to speak with us, but wanted us to know that he apologizes for what happened in the parking lot. In studio, I'm Bayan Wang, ABC4 News.
Excuse me.
And that was ABC4, that story.
That was ABC4 News Utah. I should also mention that I had also mentioned data centers in Utah this afternoon from other stories. So this was the second one. So both, at this point you could say that both data centers are under fire or are affecting people in general. Anyway, Ethan has our next story. Ethan, what do you got?
Good question. Hold on, let me check my Discord and I'll see. Well, we do have some developing story. We have a developing story from ABC6. I'll read it before we play it. Jason Meade found guilty of reckless homicide. Jurors stall on murder charge. ABC6 has this story.
We, the jury, upon our oaths and law and evidence in this case, find the defendant guilty of reckless homicide.
An emotional courtroom as family and friends of Casey Goodson Jr. react after former Franklin County Deputy Jason Meade is found guilty of reckless homicide. Jurors were unable to reach a verdict on the murder charge.
It's a deliberative process. They're trying to reach a unanimous
verdict. And so I don't think it's particularly unusual when a disagreement doesn't, or an agreement doesn't automatically materialize, that, you know, it's a process.
Back in 2020, Meade was working with a U.S. Marshals task force serving warrants. As that operation wrapped up, he said he saw Casey Goodson Jr. drive by and claimed Goodson was waving a gun. Meade followed him to his grandmother's house. He said he ordered him to drop the weapon, and then he shot and killed him. But prosecutors argued that Goodson never showed his gun. The guilty verdict bringing some relief to Goodson's family.
In case he sees his family fighting, he knows the stress, he knows the pain, he knows the heartache. And now not only can we try to find peace and finally start truly grieving, my baby can rest. We did it, baby. He's in jail. We wanted him in jail December 4th of 2020. So it's been a long roller coaster ride of him not being in jail for what he did to Casey. He's in jail.
FOP President Brian Steele says he's disappointed in the outcome, especially with Meade's bond being revoked.
Now when you have an officer, a 25-year veteran, a U.S. Marine who fought for the country, who fought for these United States, who with dedication and passion served, now he's getting locked up in a county, to me that's kind of a joke. You cannot tell me politics does not influence policing in court. I'll never believe that.
This was the second trial in the case. In 2024, a jury could not reach a verdict. This time, after 3 weeks of testimony, jurors initially said they were at an impasse Thursday afternoon. But less than 2 hours later, they returned with a guilty verdict on reckless homicide.
Justice for Casey.
Justice for Casey!
For family and friends, including Goodson's pastor, this decision brings a sense of justice.
As a pastor, trying to be faithful to this family and still at the same time being a human being myself, thinking about if that was my child, it's most certainly been an emotional roller coaster, I think, for us all.
Thanks for watching the ABC6 News YouTube channel.
Yeah, we don't need to hear that, whoever you are. Anyways, that was ABC 6, that story.
Yes, and thank you. That was ABC6 reporting on that. Thank you so much for your efforts in contributing to this program. All right, next story.
Anyways, let's go to Mr. Baker with this next story. What do you got, Mr. Baker?
Yes. So, I know in one of our previous newscasts, we had talked about the presence of unidentified flying objects in Washington. Well, the Pentagon has cracked down on that effort to stop UFOs, and has officially released some files about unidentified flying objects across the country. With more information on this story, here is NBC News.
The Pentagon releasing never-before-seen files related to UFOs, or UAPs as they call it, unidentified anomalous phenomena that have remained sealed in government records for decades. Now, this first batch of documents, videos, and photos are now up on a government-run website for Americans to view. The Pentagon says more are going to be released on a rolling basis.
President Trump hinted at the file drop nearly a month ago when he said some very interesting documents would be released by the Department of Defense very soon. But the government has not provided detailed explanation or analysis about the files, at least not yet. Tracking this one, NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello. Tom, we know about 162 files were released on this website from the Pentagon, State Department, FBI, and NASA. There is a lot to review, but what are we learning from them so far?
Not much. I hate to tell you, not much. I mean, listen, it seems to be more of the same, more of these very grainy photographs of what looks like an infrared black dot in the sky, or videos, as you're seeing here, with really not a very good explanation whatsoever. Some of these are literally dating back to we've seen reports in the files dating back to the 1940s, quite literally of an Air Force officer reporting that he saw what he thought was some sort of a disc, a flying disc in the air. We even saw a letter from the 1960s of a lady who wrote to the FBI director saying she's interested in UFOs. She signed up for some UFO information, and now she's afraid that it's a front for a communist organization. So all of this is kind of a part of this treasure trove, this document dump earlier today. However, I will say, here's what the Secretary of Defense said about the relationship between these documents and what they're looking at. He said these files hidden behind classifications have long fueled justified speculation, and it's time that the American people get to see it for themselves. You guys?
Tom, real quickly here, you mentioned the decades of history. You know, some of these incidents happened during the Apollo 12 and Apollo 17 moon missions. What are we learning about that?
So take a look. Here's a photograph right there. This is Apollo 17 standing on the moon, and look what we have identified up there in the sky. See those 3 dots? That is what the Apollo astronauts, Apollo 17, said that they had seen over their position there in the night sky as they're standing there on the moon. Now, what is that? We don't know. They have since said it could have been ice crystals. It could have been something coming off of, for example, the orbiting spaceship as they were on the surface of the moon. A lot of unanswered questions still right now. So it's just adding fuel to the fire of speculation. Can I just blow your mind for 30 seconds?
Please do.
Actually, I'll take 10 seconds. There are thought to be 2 trillion galaxies out there.
Right.
2 trillion. And there may be a septillion star systems. That is a trillion with 24 zeros. So what do you think are the chances that out there somewhere there may be life? That doesn't mean that they've made it here to planet Earth.
Right.
But it is just a never-ending universe.
He's a man of science and statistics, and we appreciate that about you, Tom. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That was NBC News, part of NBC News Now, reporting on that story for us. Thank you. Ethan will be manning our next story. Ethan, what do you got?
And you're welcome, Mr. Baker. If you're saying thank you to me, you're welcome. All right, we got a Midland, Texas man, and ignore the dark. I just had the light off, even though we're just doing it virtually. Anyways, Midland, Texas man charged after shooting at Secret Service agent near J.D. Vance motorcade. ABC2 Texas with this story.
News alert. We now turn to breaking news this morning. The man who was charged in connection with a shooting on the National Mall is from Midland.
45-year-old Michael Marks was charged today in a complaint filed in U.S. District Court in connection with a May 4th shooting near the Washington Monument. Now, Marks faces 3 federal charges: assaulting federal officers with a dangerous weapon, using and discharging a firearm during a crime of violence, and unlawful possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Ununiformed Secret Service officers responded to the shooting and located Marks along the path of the vice president's motorcade. Now, as officers approached, Marks walked toward a group of civilians crossing the street. Marks then took off and pulled out a gun. Now, when Marks reached the sidewalk, he turned and fired at one of the pursuing officers. A civilian witness standing behind the officer was wounded in the leg. Officers then returned fire, hitting Marks in the hand, left arm, and upper abdomen. Now, Marks was then taken to George Washington University Hospital.
The investigation is being conducted by the U.S. Secret Service Washington Field Office, and we'll keep you updated.
And that was a quick ABC2 Texas video with that story. Thanks for that. And now we go to Mr. Baker with our next story. Mr. Baker, what news do you got, sir?
Yes, thank you, Ethan. That was ABC2 Texas reporting on that story that was mentioned earlier. All right, next up.
I hope we get paid for this.
You know we don't.
Oh, come on.
Anyhow, next up on this newscast, friends in Michigan are remembering a Michigan mother who was one of 8 killed in a local shooting in Michigan. For more information on the story, we have CBS News Detroit.
18-year-old accused of killing a mother of 8 and a 15-year-old boy in Grand Rapids was arraigned today. Police say Rafael Martinez Lopez was upset that he wasn't allowed to join a soccer game.
The victims were 39-year-old Savannah Rubio and 15-year-old Jeremiah Griffin Cuevas. Michael Martin spoke with Savannah's family and friends about the legacy she leaves behind.
She was so selfless. She loved children, so when she saw children in need, she took them in.
Friends and family say Savannah Rubio built her life around a few simple things.
She loved to bond with children and help them out.
She held a deep love in her heart, not just for her own children.
She's got 8 babies, so she's got a lot of children at home. So right now we're just trying to help them out.
But for nearly every child who came into her life.
I don't care if she was struggling, if she had to cut something in half, she included everyone.
Loved ones say she wasn't just caring, she was fearless when it came to protecting others.
I would say her dying words was protecting someone else.
They say her faith in God guided the way she lived her life.
She loved God. I know for a fact, she had God in her heart.
And she stood up for others when it mattered.
She was a little old thing, but she was a brave woman. And I take my hats off to her. Honor her name with kindness, okay? With joy, with respect to other people.
Martinez Lopez is charged with 2 counts of open murder and 5 weapons offenses. Police say he also pointed the gun at a 9-year-old and pulled the trigger, but the gun didn't fire. Bond was denied.
And that was CBS News That was CBS News Detroit reporting on that story. And I do want to just clarify that there were 2 victims in the shooting. One of them was a mother of 8. Excuse me. Ethan, I am sending you the story right now that you will be covering.
Hope it's another Detroit story.
Nope.
Oh, rats. You always get the Detroit stories and not me, LOL.
Put it in the wrong. Excuse me, folks.
Should we take a short break?
Nope, I'm running it.
I couldn't hear you were breaking up a little bit.
There you go.
There it is.
There you go. You got your story.
Ooh, Indianapolis. Okay. All right. Just waiting on the transition. There we go. Okay, thank you, Agent. Our FBI supervisor arrested for following indictment for sexual battery in Marion County. CBS 4 Indianapolis, aka Indy, has a story.
Now at 5, an FBI supervisor from Virginia has been arrested and charged with felony sexual battery here in Marion County. CBS 4's Jesse Wells has reaction to the charges, which were unsealed this afternoon.
Both the local and national FBI offices declined to comment on the arrest of their supervisory special agent, but the suspect was booked here into the Marion County Jail on Wednesday before being released on bond a few hours later, early Thursday morning. Starting in October 2025, Indiana State Police began to investigate an allegation of sexual battery against this man, 46-year-old Timothy Healy.
I know it may not seem like this was a quick investigation, but we were able to gather all the information, all the evidence within a few weeks. We turned that over to the prosecutor's office.
Although the prosecutor wouldn't talk about the case, state police say the prosecutor's office took the case to a grand jury, which handed down an indictment against Healy in late April.
It's heartbreaking that victims have to go through things like this, and we're going to do everything we can to bring justice.
According to the FBI's website, the suspect, who lives in Virginia, is a supervisory special agent with the FBI's Crisis Negotiation Unit. A bio on the Georgetown University website, where Healy serves as a board member, shows he travels the country conducting field training sessions. He is not assigned to the Indianapolis office full-time. Because the charges stem from a grand jury, many details have not been revealed in open court records, but Healy was visiting someone he knew in Indianapolis when the alleged crime took place. State police say the bottom line is no one is above the law.
Well, it's an allegation of a crime. Regardless of who the suspect is, it's a serious allegation, and we're going to investigate that fully, and that's exactly what we did. So, the person's place of employment had nothing to do with how we pursued our investigation and worked through this.
Police reports confirm Healy surrendered himself this week for the open warrant before being released on a $5,000 cash bond. Finally, the charge of sexual battery is a level 6 felony, which carries a maximum 2.5-year punishment if convicted. Jesse Wells,
All right, Jesse, thank
CBS
you. And
4
like
News.
I said, that was CBS Indy with that story. Thank you. And let's go to Mr. Baker. What story do you have next, Mr. Baker? Can you please tell us?
Okay, thank you, Ethan. All right. Okay, that was CBS 4 reporting on that story. Thank you so much. Now we have a Boston mother. Has been accused. That has been accused rather of abusing and abandoning her children. Will be sentenced. With more information on this story, here's NBC 10 Boston.
A mother charged with killing her own children in the middle of a custody battle went before a judge in Dedham District Court today. NBC 10's Mary Marcos was there for the hearing, and she joins us live now outside the courthouse in Dedham. So, Mary, what happened?
Well, JC, the Wellesley mother is pleading not guilty, even as prosecutors say she admitted to strangling her own children.
The Commonwealth versus Jeanette McCausland.
Jeanette McCausland went before a judge with stitches on her neck.
The defendant explained to her aunt that she had tried to kill herself.
The 49-year-old stood in court in handcuffs, breaking down in tears after prosecutors outlined what they say happened on April 24th.
When asked where the children were, the defendant told her aunt that she had killed them.
Prosecutors say McCausland drove from Wellesley to her aunt's home in Bennington, Vermont, where she was later arrested.
Ms. Madison asked the defendant where her husband was, and the defendant stated that he was at the lake.
Court records show McCausland and her husband were going through a divorce and a custody fight. The children died just days after a judge ordered an investigation into parenting concerns.
Wellesley police responded to that location, Your Honor, and upon entering to conduct a well-being check, found 2 deceased children, 7-year-old Kai and 6-year-old Ella McCausland.
McCausland was brought back to Massachusetts and arraigned in Dedham with a new attorney.
I don't know if you're aware, but I only for the first time met her approximately 20 minutes ago, so I've not even really been able to have an in-depth conversation with her.
McCausland is being held without bail until her next hearing in July. Her attorney did ask that she be sent to a facility in Chicopee, and the judge did recommend that. Live in Dedham, Mary Marcos, NBC 10 Boston.
All right, Mary, and if...
All right, thanks, AJ, and I am enjoying this. Our newscast, this is actually relaxing. I love these extended newscasts. Anyways, back to news. We're gonna turn our attention. We're gonna switch gears to Washington Man now. We're gonna turn. We're gonna turn our attention. We're gonna turn now to a Washington man detained after allegedly throwing rock at Hawaiian mock seal in viral video. Como News has a story.
Now at 11, federal investigators are looking into a Seattle man after a now viral video shows him throwing a large rock at an endangered seal species in Hawaii. Thanks for joining us here at 11. I'm Preston Phillips. Comes Tyler Cunnington live tonight from the Eddie Vine boat ramp in Ballard after hearing from investigators and local seal lovers about this incident. Tyler?
Well, Preston, I know so many people, myself included, love
It's like this, the sea lions barking up a storm or lounging around here at the docks near Golden Gardens Park. And it's hard to imagine anybody wanting to hurt one of these silly guys. But down in Hawaii, a man from Seattle appears to try and do exactly that to one of their beloved native species. And now it has prompted an investigation.
What the hell? What are you doing?
A Hawaiian local stunned as she records this man heave a large rock at a monk seal, narrowly missing the animal, which is a protected species, while on the shore of a Lahaina beach.
We know who he is. We did make contact.
The Hawaii Department of Land and Natural Resources responded to the incident, which has now caused outrage on social media.
He just threw a rock at a sea lion.
There, they detained a 37-year-old man from Seattle after matching him to witness descriptions. The man invoked his legal right to not speak to authorities and has not been charged at this time. However, the case is now being turned over to law enforcement with NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association.
Any kind of penalty that might be meted out as a result of that situation will ultimately be a federal enforcement action.
That's because the Hawaiian monk seal is protected by both the Endangered Species Act and the Marine Mammal Protection Act. NOAA says people should always stay at least 50 feet away from one when resting in place.
It was really close to his head, too. Yeah, that's messed up. I don't know why someone would do that. That's weird.
Xander Yates, while enjoying an evening with Ballard's beloved sea lions, which are also federally protected, was shocked to see the viral video.
Or at least he missed, but still, that's not right.
He says it's a shame to hear the man is from Seattle, especially given the region's marine history and appreciation for sea life.
I feel like most people around here have pretty good values about that stuff. You know, I don't feel like that guy represents like most people out here at all. That's weird.
Now, again, there are no charges for that man at the moment, but tonight NOAA affirms their Office of Law Enforcement is looking into possible violations of those two federal acts we mentioned, which can mean a maximum of $2,000 for each law for a first-time offense of injuring or causing harm to animals like these. Reporting live here in Seattle tonight, Tyler Cunnington, Como News.
And that was Como News with that story, and sorry to rejoin me because my phone. Anyways, that was Como News with the story. Thank you so much for that, and Preston and Phillips and Tyler Cunningham, thank you. I can't believe who would hurt seals. That's just terrible. Seals are cute, aren't they?
Yes, well they are, but some people don't like animals, and some people can and will apparently take to that extent. Thank you, Ethan, for reporting on that.
All right, Mr. Baker, would you please share our next story?
And it is a somber but a peaceful story after a fallen Boston State Police officer has been officially laid to rest. Was laid to rest today. Covering that story and at that procession was CBS News Boston.
American flags hanging from overpasses, hands over hearts, and fellow first responders standing at attention. All a somber tribute to a fallen state trooper. Late tonight, the body of Trooper Kevin Traynor was escorted to a funeral home in Peabody, just one day after he gave his life trying to stop a wrong-way driver in Linfield. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm David Wade. Brandon Truitt tonight spoke to community members who lined the streets to show their respect and gratitude for a young man's sacrifice.
So many people are still coming to terms with this heartbreaking tragedy, a public servant who lost his life answering the call. It's one of the most sacred traditions in law enforcement and one no family wants to take part in. The dignified transfer of Trooper Kevin Traynor carrying his body from the medical examiner's office in Boston to a funeral home in Peabody. Overpasses were filled with fellow first responders. Some waved American flags, others held signs of support for the family as they passed underneath. Hundreds of people lined up in front of the funeral home, waiting for their chance to pay their respects.
So sad, such a young life taken too soon.
and such a terrible tragedy for his family.
After a 30-minute journey, the procession arrived in Peabody, Trooper Trainer's loved ones embracing each other outside of the funeral home.
It was beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, it was pretty powerful. It was a nice tribute.
The 30-year-old trooper was killed Wednesday morning while responding to a call for a wrong-way driver on Route 1 in Linfield. New video from a passing truck shows that Jeep driving the wrong way moments before it collided with Trooper Trainer's vehicle. The driver of the other car also died. Earlier Thursday, Trooper Trainer's fiancée laid flowers on a cruiser at the Danvers Barracks, the memorial there growing by the hour. Trooper Trainer is being remembered for his sense of loyalty, integrity, and compassion. His loss sending a wave of grief throughout this community.
That's everybody's worst nightmare, right? Sad, devastating.
Trooper Trainer is survived by his mother, fiance, and siblings. He comes from a family of first responders. His obituary writes that being a trooper was his calling. In Peabody, Brandon Truitt, WBZ News.
All right, Brandon, thank you. And we have just received the funeral information for Trooper Trainer. He will be honored at a funeral mass on Wednesday at St. James Church in Salem. The service begins at 11 in the morning. You can find more information on our website right now, WBZ.com.
Yes, that was WBZ Boston. If somehow you are a viewer watching in the Massachusetts area, they shared information about the funeral, the official funeral services for that fallen officer.
Good question, Mr. Baker, but thank you. We're going to turn now to a hiker body found after suspected bear attack in Glacier National Park. NBC Nightly News, I think, with Tom Lamas has this story.
Tonight, multiple trails closed in Montana's Glacier National Park. Signs warning of bear danger after what authorities suspect was a fatal bear attack. Park officials sharing they found a hiker's body Wednesday in a densely wooded area about 50 feet off the popular Mount Brown Trail. The park is home to roughly 1,000 bears, with an estimated 300 of those being grizzlies. Just days ago in Yellowstone National Park, a bear attack left 2 hikers badly mauled.
Definitely bear. Its claws.
Park officials say the attack happened on a trail not far from the iconic Old Faithful geyser. And last month, this video capturing a black bear in Southern California. Charging a hiker, no one was hurt. Wildlife biologist Jeff Corwin says this time of year can pose additional risk when crossing paths with a bear.
They're very afraid of other bears, and you don't want to fall prey to being a victim of misidentification.
Now, tonight, it's still unknown what kind of bear may have attacked at Glacier, but wildlife officials say that they are scouring that area.
And that was Morgan Norwood with that
animal
story.
Activity.
Morgan and Tom, thank you.
All right, Morgan, thank you.
For that.
Thank you for.
And that was NBC News with that story, too. Yep. You're welcome, Mr. Baker.
Yes, thank you. That was NBC Nightly News. Thank you, Ethan, for reporting. On to our next story. An agreement has officially been reached after the Seattle Children's Hospital had initially proposed to stop accepting Life Flight helicopters onto their bases. For more information, here is once again Como News.
After public outrage and a viral post, a Seattle neighborhood backs down over complaints about helicopter flights to a hospital. On board are critically ill or injured children being raced to life-saving medical care. Good evening. I'm Molly Shen.
And I'm Preston Phillips. An agreement has been reached between Seattle Children's Hospital and community leaders in Laurelhurst that make emergency care the priority. Noise complaints have kept some flights in check, with pilots sometimes landing a mile away from where patients are loaded into an ambulance. Couples Joel Moreno live outside Children's Hospital with the changes now in the works. Joel?
And Preston and Molly, helicopters carrying
critically ill patients to the hospital here, they have faced restrictions that are tied to noise concerns from the neighborhood. Well, now, though, the debate has reached a turning point. These helicopters that make medical flights can provide the precious seconds critical patients sometimes need just to survive. They played a huge role for this mother.
He was life flighted from Alaska. He was born at 24 weeks early, and he's had a lot of complications.
At Seattle Children's Hospital, helicopters bring in the region's most critically ill kids. For some, this sound is simply noise, but for others, it can be a lifeline.
Of course it's going to be noisy. It's a helicopter.
It's good that people are getting life-saving care.
And yet for decades, a conditional use permit to limit noise in the Laurelhurst neighborhood meant not every helicopter could make a rooftop landing. Some crews had to touch down a mile away at the UW campus and race the patient the rest of the way in an ambulance.
Landing a mile away from the hospital sometimes is not going to cut it. Some babies, they need to be here like ASAP, you know.
A now deleted social media post renewed concerns about this long-standing agreement between the hospital and the Laurelhurst Community Council. After growing pressure and an emotional public outcry, neighborhood leaders are backing a major change.
I mean, I live right next to the Children's Hospital, and I hear the helicopters sometimes, but it doesn't bother me.
The Laurelhurst Community Council now says it will support ending the Medical Review Committee. The group was set up to balance emergency care with neighborhood noise, but critics say it's added dangerous delays.
I just feel like it's best for babies to be able to land here on the roof. I don't agree with all of the complaints being made.
Well, the hospital says it only averages about 3 helicopter arrivals each week. And when they do land, these kids are most definitely critical. Now, the city still has to approve bringing the review process to an end, but even the mayor has signaled her early support.
That was Como News reporting on that story. Thank you. Once again, Ethan, I am sending you your story right now.
Well, we know the fire and...
Ooh, WWL. That's the story I must be working on.
So now that Ethan knows what
Alright.
station is...
Would you please, so I can read it, because I don't know how I'm going to read it without my details here.
Send you the details.
Just waiting on the message. Hold on, just texting my girlfriend. There we go. Sorry, text my girlfriend.
It's sent.
Hold on. Okay. Alright, I just need my sound. Where's the sound? There it is. Okay, there we go. Okay, we're gonna turn now to an explosion in New Orleans. Rafferty, and the Channel 4 story has that one.
Well, we know the fire and explosion happened at 12:54 because of Ring camera video and also viewer video that we got. So take a look at it down here in Chalmette. What happened was the fire and explosion was at the Chalmette refinery. We are told that the refinery response team was on it right away, and by the time St. Bernard Fire Department joined them, within 10 minutes it was under control. Now, there were no injuries, no schools had to be evacuated. However, the juvenile correctional facility right next door was evacuated as a precaution, but all the juveniles, about an hour or two later, were brought back into that facility. It was still burning late this afternoon, but we are told completely under control. And they're not sure what was burning or why it was burning or why there was an explosion, so the investigation continues. Now, there are no environmental issues as far as we know. We're told there are 20 DEQ monitors, but people as far away as Rocky and Carlos did hear the explosion.
We heard an explosion. We thought either the air conditioner blew up because the doors were shaking, the front doors were shaking. Everybody looked up, and all of a sudden, they all went in through the side door and left. And then I went outside and I saw the fire.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I received a lot of phone calls from the residents of St. Bernard Parish, very, very concerned. I mean, and they have all the right in the world to be concerned about this. With the sound of that explosion, they heard it all the way and felt it in their homes, all the way up to Araby, I was told, from a phone call that I received. I also received one passed down Jacob Drive, which is in the Merrow area.
The parish president says, as far as he knows, nothing will be closed at the refinery because of this unit that had this fire. Also, we asked him why the sirens or alarms in the refinery did not go off, and he said he does not know why, and that is currently under investigation. Reporting from Chalmette, Meg Farris, WWL, Louisiana.
There we go. And that was sorry, I was playing a game on my phone. And that was that local 4 story with that story. Thank you. And Mr. Baker, would you please share our next story?
Yep, that was WWL Louisiana. Thank you. Yep. Yes, I will be sharing our next few stories because of the importance of the matters discussed in all of these stories. First, quite a shocking story actually. After a Houston man was indicted after killing his wife in Italy, then returning to the state of Texas. For more information on this interesting story, here's NBC2 Houston.
Well, a Houston man accused of killing his pregnant wife is now in custody in Italy this morning.
That's right. And next, investigators are facing some questions about how he was able to leave the country while he was out on bond. KPRC2 News reporter Ricky Munoz is following these new developments. And Ricky, people inside that courtroom really had no idea that this was coming.
Had no clue, and they were expecting for Lee Gilley to show up in that courtroom to hear his capital murder hearing. Now, after the bailiff called his name 3 times, prosecutors got up and said, hey, he's out of the country. Oh, and by the way, he cut his ankle monitor.
Lee Mongerson Gilley. Lee Mongerson Gilley. Lee Mongerson Gilley.
FBI called them Monday after Italian authorities detained Gilley at an airport in Milan. The 39-year-old is accused of strangling his pregnant wife, Krista Gilley, inside their Heights home last year. Court records show he was out on a $1 million bond and had turned over his passport. But investigators say he still made it out of the country through Toronto and into Italy using fake travel documents. The court also learned his GPS monitor started sending strap tamper alerts Friday night around 9 p.m. But pretrial services didn't notify the court until Monday afternoon under current policy. That's now raising questions about how quickly those alerts should be flagged in high-profile cases like this one.
If I was the judge, I would not be a very happy camper right now because this is now blown into an international story.
Now, prosecutors they're saying that his next court date is in June, and they're telling the court that it's going to take him a minute because it has to be extradited from Italy. Of course, we're going to stay on top of this and keep everybody updated on air and online on clicktohouston.com. But for now, reporting live in downtown Houston, I'm Ricky Munoz, KPRC News.
Definitely.
That was KPRC Houston, NBC Houston reporting on that story. Thank you. Next. I am also reporting on this. A major piece of news has come in that the judge in the Charlie Kirk assassination trial case has omitted to has omitted, excuse me, has omitted to have no excuse me again. There will be cameras in the courtroom for the Charlie Kirk assassination trial. That's what the judge had confirmed earlier this afternoon. With more information on this, we have KUTV2 reporting on this story.
Okay, Kristen, thank you very much. We'll keep an eye on that for you. The judge in the case of Tyler Robinson, the man accused of murdering Charlie Kirk, has ruled that cameras will be allowed in the courtroom.
It has been an ongoing debate between the state and the prosecution throughout the duration of these proceedings. Liv Kelleher joins us from the 4th District Courthouse. And Liv, it's not quite as simple as yes cameras or no cameras, right?
Yeah, that's right, Heidi. Judge Tony Graff said that there's not sufficient reason to categorically bar cameras from the courtroom. He said this should be handled on a hearing-by-hearing basis. Take a listen to what he had to say about this.
Electronic media coverage provides a means to facilitate the public's right of access to court proceedings for those who cannot physically occupy the limited space available in a courtroom. Live streaming in particular allows as many people as are interested to observe the justice system at work and hold our branches of government accountable.
Now, Judge Tony Graff established a new process for requesting media access in the courtroom. Members of the media have to request access 14 days before a scheduled hearing. If either side wants to challenge that, they have to do that within 10 days of that hearing. The opposition has 5 days to respond, and final replies must come in 3 days before that scheduled hearing. Now, this does sound like it could take a lot of time and further delay proceedings, but Judge Graff placed a 4-page limit on any challenge or response and will not be holding any oral hearings. Now, the judge also ruled in favor of one motion from the defense to delay the preliminary hearing. Take a listen to what he had to say about that one.
Set as a goalpost for the parties and to preserve time on the court's calendar. This is defendant's first request for a continuance, and given the volume of discovery, the request is neither unexpected or unreasonable.
Now, this comes after the defense said they received 1,600 files today from the state, on top of several terabytes of other discovery. Judge Tony Graff agreed that they're going to need additional time to work through this sufficiently and move the preliminary hearing from the end of this month to July 6th through the 10th. Reporting live in Provo, Liv Kelleher, KUTV 2 News.
Okay, that was Liv Callahan from KUTV2 News reporting on that story. Obviously a very important story to us. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. That is going to be the last story of the newscast. Thank you to every news organization that has helped us in this extended newscast.
I just want to say I want to thank all these news sources, CBS News Detroit, and yeah, and all I want to say is I hope AJ gets better. Hopefully we can do the news tomorrow if he feels better.
Yep. Okay, well, yes, thank you to all of the news organizations.
And I'm I'm Ethan Jakowski. Gosh darn, I can't talk today. I'm Ethan Jakowski. Thanks so much for watching tonight and always. Good night.